Hey, what's up, Black Knight Nation? This is Sal Interdonato. I'm here with my co-host Steve Anderson. We're gonna do a reaction recap to Army's 52-21 win over UConn yesterday. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to send in to us, please feel free to do so. We'll answer them and we'll post them. If you want any, your source for Army football is blackknightnation.com. Has game stories, photos, videos up there right now. I'm going to have some quick thoughts later on tonight or early tomorrow on the UConn game and looking ahead a little bit to Miami of Ohio. Also, check out our subscribe and rate our podcast at all podcast platforms, Black Knight Nation, all over the main podcast platforms. And also, we have a YouTube channel, Black Knight Nation. Also, we're just going to go over the game. The UConn game, just 52-21. We're going to get Steve back in here now. Steve, how's it going?
Oh, what's up, Sal? Yeah, it's going good. It's a little crazy on the Anderson home front for the next couple weeks, but overall, I mean, I'm starting my Sunday with an Army win, which is always good. Looking forward to watching the Ravens tonight.
Yeah, you got the Ravens tonight. I got the Cardinals in a shootout with the Vikings right now. I'm going to try to focus all my attention on this podcast and review this. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge. But Kyler Murray is just ridiculous. First half, we'll see. I think he just threw a pick six. But yeah, this game was kind of what we thought it was, I guess. Right? UConn Army coming in as a 34-point favorite, and Army jumps out to a big lead. The defense, special teams plays well in the first half. And, you get some players in the game in the second half to get some really some first college experience, get their feet wet, so to speak. This pretty much went down the way you thought it would on yesterday?
Yeah, no, it absolutely did. I was a little surprised at UConn's defense. It really didn't seem like they had any real scheme for the triple option. It really did look like players were confused on what the keys were, who had the pitch man, how they really played it. There's a lot of film out there for how you defend the triple option, a lot of different defensive sets. I know the 3-4/5-2 look is usually at least in my experience, that's probably the best defense to run against a triple option based off your personnel. But just a little surprised at kind of the lack of really like preparedness out of UConn against a triple option. But another thing is that there's a lot of times where we're always used to seeing Army out scheme and Army outplay and out hustle and determination, right? Whenever you think of Army teams, yesterday we were a much better athletic team. Throughout our offensive linemen were better, our backs were better than backers, and then our receivers were better than their defensive backs, and vice versa. So their quarterback was really good. He had a lot of help, or a lot of success running the ball and throwing, but overall. Those are one of those games where you just hope to come out, healthy and get some younger players experience, which I think we did for the most part. I know we had a couple of injuries in the beginning, but I don't think anything was too serious, at least not that I've seen reported so far.
Yeah, just a couple real quick, just to bounce off your thoughts there. UConn didn't play last season, and from what their interim head coach told CBS Sports Network, that they've been scheming for Army's offense since last year, since 2020. And like you said, it didn't really show, right? Brandon Walters had that big 58-yard run, I believe, on the second play of the game that set up the first touchdown. Now, so Army ran for 397 yards in this game, Steve, and the slots had 185. Almost half of those yards were slot back totals, which, I mean, this season, the slot backs for Army are getting more involved in the offense. They're with Tyrell Robinson, with Brahim Murphy, with A.J. Howard, with Brandon Walters. I mean, it makes Army's option offense certainly more difficult to defend. And, man, they had a big game against UConn.
Yeah, well, and that's really when it was evident that we were just more athletic, is our slot backs were outrunning pursuit angles. So guys, UConn's defense had the ability to have an angle and chase us down, but our guys were just running through angles. So I mean, the Army's offense is not supposed to be meant for huge plays. It's supposed to grind you down. So when you see big play over big play, that is like my big kind of key that the scheme is not there, or at least the eyes are not right. So I heard the announcers talk about how they've been scheming since last spring and how they're preparing for Army, and that's all well and good, but to me, as kind of like a guy who's played the game, it just looked like that defense was lost throughout the entire game. So, but it could have just been that, they just were, guys just weren't having their eyes in the right spot and the scheme was there. So, but it was really cool to see us open up the playbook a little bit and gain some confidence in, the seam routes, the drag routes, the slot backs on the corners. Basically, our playbook was full open, and whatever the coaches wanted to run, they were all about it. So I know when they pan to the offensive coordinator in the box, we had after a big play, he'd be all excited and everything. So it's cool seeing, the coaches so passionate about, what they're doing.
Yeah, Brent Davis had a really good game calling the plays, and now here's something that I brought up in the past, but something that worked on against UConn. Tyrell Robinson, right? He's got game-breaking speed, and you figure, okay, you want to get him the ball on the edge, and then sometimes they'll give him the ball on some inside plays, and my thinking is like, why have him take that, physical punishment there, running the ball in between the tackles? But look what happened against UConn. The seas parted, so to speak. Sam Barzak had a really good block, the right guard, and there goes Tyrell Robinson, 70 yards for a touchdown. And once he broke into that second level, nobody was going to catch him. So, I mean, I think that's a play that maybe they've ran a bunch of times to probably set up that heavy hit. And once they get the openings and the blocks to work, man, you see that is an excellent play call.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? So outside linebacker, safety, whoever you got on the pitch guy, he takes that counter step outward, and he's been running out to the perimeter every play for the past, 60 or the last 30 minutes. And he takes a little shuffle step outside, and he gets all your weight going the wrong direction. And then he just hits it back up hard in the counter, power, right up the whatever they call it, the 4-6 hole, whatever they call it these days on offense. But what that also does, right, just like you said, it sets those linemen up for the right angles to kick out, or just enough stutter step on the defensive, backers to where they can double down on the tackle and then push up to the second level. And the guy's already out of position, and he just kind of has to seal him. But Barzak had a huge hit, just sealed that guy off, and he was gone. I mean, as soon as I think he was at 10 yards, he was at the last line of defense, and he was gone. Nobody was going to catch him.
It's really good to see, because the offensive line, right, they were playing without starting center Connor Bishop, who may be out up to a month from, what I might hear. And so knowing that moves over from guard to center, Zach Ward gets a start, a senior who's been through a couple injuries during his career. Good to see Zach get that first career start. And then, so guys like Sam Barzak, Army likes to shuffle their offensive line a little bit, giving guys some breathers. He gets a chance to play in the second quarter, I believe it's second quarter, first half, and makes that block. And, you look at, Steve, this passing game too, right? I mean, Christian Anderson, third straight game to open the season with a touchdown pass. It was a play action pass where Isaiah Alston was wide open for 39 yards. The QB efficiency just keeps on going up for the Black Knights. And man, what a difference from last year. And Christian Anderson playing with a lot of confidence, not only throwing, but also running the offense. And Tahir Tyler didn't suit up for the game. His second straight game, he didn't suit up due to the injury. But when it comes to Saturday, noon kickoff against Miami of Ohio at Mikey Stadium coming up, I got to think Christian Anderson should be the starting quarterback no matter what, just considering the role he's kind of on and the groove he's got the offense in.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Sal, we don't know what goes on, basically within the meeting rooms, right? we don't, we're not privileged. You get to see a couple practices here and there, if you get the opportunity to. I don't see what happens at practice, but yeah, I mean, you got to go with the hot hand. I don't think, Coach Spunk has ever been shy about, hey, like, we got multiple guys that can do the job. And it's not a one-man show,
Yeah.
So I do believe that, Christian Anderson's got to be the guy for at least the short term, until something. I mean, he's just being super efficient throwing the ball. I mean, we know we know that he can throw the ball from his high school days. So I really do think that opens up a lot of things for the offense. And he's been super efficient, hitting his targets when he needs to. I haven't even seen him throw, a ball that's really been off targets. It's all been, really, just near misses or, he just get rid of the ball. Other than that, if a guy's open, he's hitting them. So it's really, really nice to see an offense that can just open up like that, and continue to do that. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think Christian Anderson's the guy that gets the nod with a healthy Tyler, and I think we just kind of see where it goes from there.
I'm sure, they'll probably do the same thing where they kind of rotate them in once Tyre's healthy. I was trying to get to Christian Anderson's stats for the season, Steve, but I think he's thrown maybe 2 incompletions, and I'm going to say both of those passes were drops. I think they were on the money in the hands of the receiver. I think they were dropped. So you're right. I mean, he has been really good with the ball. And here's the key stat: he hasn't had any turnovers. He hasn't turned the ball over on a fumble or anything, and he hasn't thrown an interception yet. And when you're doing that through 3 games, and your starting quarterback or your number 1 quarterback hasn't turned the ball over, you're going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, and you have to have that out of your quarterback. I mean, he's touching the ball, in a triple option offense. I mean, he could be touching the ball 90 times a game. And he could be throwing plus, the give read. I mean, every other than like the toss, the inside counter, and like the straight up fullback give, it's him making that decision where that ball's going throughout that offense. It runs through the quarterback. So, to have him had that many touches and this much efficiency, no turnovers, is the you can't that's the recipe for success in a triple option offense. So he's doing it, and we see it. We're 3-0. And this team coming up is going to be no UConn. So Miami Ohio's got some good players on it. So we got to make sure that Anderson continues to maintain positive control of that ball.
Yeah, so Miami of Ohio, we'll get into that matchup just briefly in a little bit. First, I want to talk about the defense real quick. The first team defense, it's a 42-0 game at half, so they don't give up any points in the first half. Now, I went back and looked this up. So Army's defense in the last 6 games, the last 3 games of 2020 and the first 3 games of 2021, they haven't given up a touchdown in the first quarter yet. They've given up a field goal to West Virginia in the bowl game, and that's it. They've given up 3 first quarter points in the last 6 games. So when your defense can get you off the field and get that offense back on, and just not give up any points early, that's been really key for them. And Mark Quayle brought in with another interception this week, Steve, for the 2nd straight week. And I looked that up too. So the last Army player to have interceptions in back-to-back weeks was Elijah Riley in 2019 Air Force and UMass game. So the defense is getting the job done, and they're playing like Kwabena Bonsu got banged up in the game in the first half. Ryan Duran got banged up in the first half on the defensive line. So what happens? Nate Smith steps up. Nate Smith has 1.5 sacks, first sacks of his career. Andre Carter, I think that Andre Carter didn't have a sack, but he certainly affected Fumachan, Tyler Fumachan, the UConn freshman quarterback, certainly made him move a little bit out of the pocket and got him uncomfortable. So what did you think about the defense's effort in the first half?
I think Broughton has solidified my view. That guy is a player. All right. That guy, it almost looks like he baits the quarterback to throw balls that he knows he wants him to throw. And he is like, as the quarterback goes to launch the ball, he takes a step to make his move. I mean, I saw him do it 3 times. He got 1 pick yesterday. That guy is next level defensive back. Really, really impressive. Especially when CBS Sports does justice and like actually shows the replay and breaks it down. I mean, the guy is. I literally, like, after watching one of the replays and it was behind him, right? So the camera was behind him. I like literally thought in my head, like, what he's thinking is like, "Hey, go ahead, yeah, throw it, and here I come and pick. Let's go." So I really like the how we have the broad axe now, going back to Rogers Rangers. It's a really cool lineage of kind of the mentality Army's defense plays with. So if you don't know anything about the broad axe or Rogers Rangers, I highly recommend you go out and read a little bit about it. It's a really cool story. They touched a little bit about the CBS Sports, but a good buddy of mine, Major Blake Powers. He's one of the team's GAs and does the administration portions for the team. And he was able to come up with that. And now a different person holds it. Broughton was holding it this week, leading up to the game. So I got to talk to him a little bit. I was like, "Hey, where'd this idea come from?" And they actually call their defense broad axes. So it's a really cool lineage and kind of tying what Army football's defense is doing now to what we did essentially early in the Korean War. So really cool stuff.
At first, I didn't quite get the broad axe concept and the nickname, Steve. And I don't know if I should really reveal this or not, but I go back to the Dungeons and Dragons days, the medieval times. I was a big fan growing up of that stuff. Did doing some research on that. So I think of the broad axe back then, but then this is to have it mesh with the military and the history of the Army is really neat. And to have an axe that now, I guess if you get a turnover, it's like the turnover chain. The guy who gets the turnover for the defense maintains the axe, and I think that's a great idea for Army. Those things are always going to motivate your players to not necessarily play harder, but be in the right positions to make plays. Right, like you said with Marquell. I mean, he always seems to be there, and the defense against UConn. Yeah, it was a freshman quarterback making his first start. That freshman quarterback was somebody that Army offered, and Army recruited pretty good. So was UConn's middle linebacker Hunter Webb. So Jeff Monken said there's guys on this UConn roster that they wanted, and they went to UConn. Kyler Murray just threw another pick near the goal line. My God, crazy. Sorry for the watch along, but I mean, it's unbelievable. He can make an amazing play that you'll see once in a million times, and then he just throws a free ball up in the air. It looked like for a pick. I mean, I don't know. I got to focus on this recap here. So yeah, I mean, guys are in the right positions for defense now. Second half, Steve. You kind of hadn't scored against a 1AA opponent in its first 2 games, and it gets 3 touchdowns against Army. It's a second string guys that were in. No first team guys played after halftime for Jeff Monken. He got all his second stringers in. He got third stringers in. He got fourth stringers in. Man, it's going to be tough to do a breakdown of the offense and defense. It must have played close to 90 players, I'm guessing, in that game, Steve. Maybe I'm a little exaggerating, but probably everybody that dressed played. And I mean, is that a learning experience, you think, for those guys? I mean, do you put much into –
I think what's the most troubling about that is guys had the opportunity to make a stand, and there was multiple times where we had, 10 guys on the field. Their kickoff return that they had 10 guys on the field, which, you want to keep guys healthy and you want to give guys the opportunity. But, me is if I'm Coach Monk and I'm like, look, I'm trying to give you guys opportunities, and this is how you guys want to act is because we're up 42 points. I want to try to get some other guys experience, and you just don't want to show up on the field. I mean, honestly, it was firing me up. Having 10 guys on the field is just absolutely unacceptable. It's a lack of communication from the players, right? Like, hey, I'm not in right now. Where's my backup at? All right. You know what I mean? Like the starters have to take that ownership of like helping the guys who don't play, right? They don't do this, right? They don't, it's not natural for them to go off on kickoff return or kickoff team because they don't do it. It's not natural for them to go on defense. So it was always something when we had big games, it was always on the first string. Like, kind of the accountability piece was like, I wasn't mad at the players who were supposed to be on the field. It was the seniors and the leaders that are supposed to be holding the team accountable. Like, hey, where were you guys out making sure those guys were right? So that's where it was frustrating to watch that a couple times.
Man, and so the first kickoff return in the second half, 96 yards for a touchdown. Then the next one for 96 too, and luckily there was a holding penalty called on UConn. That would have been 2 kickoff returns in the same game, same yardage for touchdowns. Army hadn't given up a kick return touchdown since 2017 in the bowl game to San Diego State, the Armed Forces Bowl. You know how much Jeff Monken, we say this all the time, Jeff Monken special teams is very important to coach. And he said he holds those second string, third string players to the same standard as he does his starters. They got to be ready to play, like you said. And so I guess this is something that'll definitely make them maybe not practice harder, but maybe just like you said, be more into the game and see that they do have a role on this team, and their name might get called. And when their name is called, you got to perform like as a starter. You got to act like, the second team guy has to act like the starter and down the chain pretty much.
No, 100%, Sal. And that just kind of went back to where, 1 second.
Yeah, you just.
My bad.
Okay,
that's the thing, right? Is it doesn't matter who's in the game. Like you got to know your duties and responsibilities. And hey, we have one of the top defenses in the country right now, right? Like we've been playing extremely well on defense. So when those guys come in, they have to have that same kind of pride. Their defense too, and those points. Just man, it was really frustrating. Especially when we're having 10 guys on the field. But like you said, there are guys that show up. There are guys that came out there and made the plays that they were supposed to make and acted like they were supposed to be there. So I know that's the mentality of the defense. I know nobody purposely went out there and didn't make it happen. So you just got to dial in and the starters. And look, I don't know this, but the starters can't check out, right?
Yeah.
The starters have to be, helping those guys feel it out, help them see what they're supposed to see, make them get on the phone with the coaches up in the box and say, hey, how did I miss this? Stuff like that. So I'm not saying that did or did not happen. It's frustrating when, when you only have 10 players. It wasn't just once or twice. There was multiple plays where there was only 10 players on the field. So just something we got to clean up. And Coach Monken's going to address that, probably tomorrow.
I think they have meetings today, I think, and they get Monday off, or vice versa. Let's give a shout out to the guys who did get into the game that did, those second, third, fourth teamers who, the fullbacks, when the fullbacks, Wilson Cato and Shakori Williams got into the game. They moved the pile. They looked like they were stopped a couple times, and they kept moving the ball forward. Cato scored his first touchdown. Now, Steve, that's a senior who played defense for the first 3 years and moved over to fullback this year. And, it's pretty deep at fullback. He, I guess, if you want to look at the depth chart, is either 4th or 5th on the depth chart. And just to get him, just to get in the end zone for him must have been a great feeling. And guys on defense, I mean, the guys were hitting pretty hard. There was Leo Lowen was playing like a linebacker safety position. He had a couple big hits in there. Jimmy Charlo had a tackle near the line of scrimmage. Max Domenico, he's a freshman, true freshman out of Texas, was a quarterback in high school. He's playing safety now. He had his first career tackle. There's a guy to watch out on the defensive line by the name of Andre Miller. He went to the prep school last year. This year he's a freshman, and Nate Woody mentioned that he's starting to pick it up now, and maybe might be a guy that they bring on a travel roster. Who knows, for road games. And this guy had some FBS, some really solid FBS offers, and he chose Army. I believe he's out of Savannah. I could be wrong that area. A guy to watch out for. Andre Miller is a guy to watch out for. And Steve, when the defensive line's a little banged up right now, Bonsu's injury seemed to be. When Bonsu went down in the first half, I was like, oh, man, that seems like a serious injury. But then he was kind of stretching it out on the sidelines, and when teammates were making good plays, he was there patting them on the head and kind of moving around pretty well. So I think that that injury might not be as serious as first thought of. And then Ryan Duran, it looked like a hand injury, so we'll see what happens. But you need all your, that UConn game, right? You don't want to have – the one thing you want to try to get out of the UConn game with is minimal – injuries, guys injured, banged up, right? That's why Jeff Monken played the rest of the starters in the second half. Steve, are you there? I think we might have lost Steve. So if anybody's watching and has any comments or questions that they want to send in, we'll put them up. We're going to probably wrap up this podcast in a few minutes here. Just 52-21 win for Army. Big day for the offense in the first half. Christian Anderson, how about him? 2 touchdown runs, another touchdown pass. Christian Anderson now with a touchdown pass in the first 3 games of the season. I'm going to have to look that up. When the last time an Army quarterback has thrown for a touchdown pass in the first 3 games, you probably have to go back to when, maybe the Bobby Ross days, to where that happened. Christian Anderson is the first Army quarterback since Kelvin Hopkins in 2018 to throw a touchdown pass in 3 straight games, period. So great job by Christian and getting the offense involved. Steve, do we have you back?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, Sal. Just kind of everything just froze on me. But yeah, I'm back here now.
No worries. We have some StreamYard things going on. No worries. Do you have a final thought here as we wrap this up, just about the UConn game and maybe looking ahead to Miami of Ohio? Now, Miami of Ohio is a team that played Army really tough the last time it was at Mikey Stadium. I believe Elijah Riley made that stop. I think it was a 2-point conversion that Miami of Ohio was trying to win the game. Elijah Riley had a big hit. I think it was 2018, maybe. I think the year was that happened. Chuck Martin, Miami of Ohio coach, he's been there for a while. He's Jeff Monken's. I went to college with Jeff Monken, I believe. Coach said that. So, what do you think? Like you said, this is not UConn this Saturday coming up for Army.
Yeah, no, this Miami Ohio time, like you said, the coach has been there for a while. They're extremely well coached, well disciplined. It's not the standard Miami of Ohio team you would think of, from the MAC. So they definitely have a lot of players that can hurt you on big plays. The biggest thing that you got to kind of take from the UConn game to the Miami of Ohio game is that kind of get up and get early, right? We talked about it a couple times. We don't give up points in the first quarter. Army always plays better when we control the clock and have the lead. So that's a recipe for success is Christian Anderson holding on the ball, getting in the end zone early, and our defense kind of stopping them through the first quarter. So that'll be another key to kind of watch out for. Those are some really interesting. I didn't, pulling it from last year too, to kind of just, interesting. We finished the year last year, Navy and Air Force, which is kind of a little different, but still pretty cool to come away with the CIC. So the defense just has to continue to press, and hopefully we can get some of these injuries taken care of. We can get those guys back on the field this week.
Yeah, real quick on Miami of Ohio. So they beat LIU Post this week, 1AA team, but their first game was against Cincinnati, who's ranked number 8 in the country. They lost 49-14, but then they went to Minnesota, a Big Ten team, and it was 31-26 Golden Gophers. So they were right in that game against Minnesota. And I think Minnesota had a pretty good win this this past week. So, I mean, you're never going to take opponents lightly. Never going to, you're on a roll 3-0. It's the first time the Army's been 3-0 since 2016. So they want to keep, obviously we talked about momentum. They want to keep that going because then you go to Ball State. After Miami of Ohio and then Wisconsin. So you want to keep this momentum rolling. And, you just look at this. We'll probably look at this game later this week coming up. But, the health wise, you want to get the guys healthy, and it seems like the guys have a good mindset for this game coming up. They took care of business against UConn first half, did what they had to do, and now you set all your focus on Miami of Ohio, and you're at Michie Stadium, Steve. The winning streak is now 12 straight games at Michie Stadium, so you have a lot of confidence playing at home, and you just like Brandon Walters and Brahim Murphy, the slot backs have said all year season long so far. What they do between Sunday and Friday, so to speak, it shows up on game days, and the practices are really competitive. They're really locked in practices, and it's showing during games. So I'm anxious to see where this team can go because right now, they're not. We talked about this. They're not getting any votes in the polls yet. That's fine and dandy, but let's see them reel off some wins. Let's see them go into, Wisconsin undefeated. I know it's one game at a time mentality for the players, but let's see them get on a little bit of a roll and be playing at a pretty high level on all sides of the game. And man, they're going to be tough to stop if that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely right. Like what happens on Saturday is absolutely predicated off of what happens Monday, Sunday through Friday. So, I think the guys understand they have something really special here, right? So, 3-0, they got the schedule that's nice. Get to start at home, get that momentum, keep the momentum. But they have something to do. They have opportunity to do something special this year, and really, kind of always, like you said, not leaning ahead. But there's always that one thing that Army's been missing from this program, and that's a Power 5 win. So I think it'll be an awesome atmosphere, and just to kind of go back to Miami, Minnesota's no slouch. All right, that team is a hard-nosed football team. So 31-26 is absolutely respectable, and we better respect them come Saturday.
No doubt. Well, we're going to wrap this podcast up. You can find us on all major podcast platforms. You can find us at blackknightnation.com. We have T-shirts on the website that if you guys would like to purchase, we have them on the website. We're going to write a bunch of stuff coming up on looking back on UConn and looking ahead to Miami of Ohio. Steve, it's been fun on a Sunday. Let's get to some NFL football right now, but we'll sign off for the Black Knight Nation. Appreciate a couple minutes here.
That's right. Go Army. Beat Miami of Ohio.